Welcome to week 3 of the Total Transformation program. This week is focused on mindful eating, and hopefully after this week, you will be able to adopt a mindful eating mindset whenever you both create and enjoy the food that you are eating. Okay. So the objectives today, you're going to identify the principles of mindful eating, learn about the differences between mindful and mindless eating, identify behaviors that support mindful eating, learn 7 strategies for mindful eating. So we'll have a mindful eating toolbox, understand the importance of cooking and connecting with food. Okay. So I love this quote right here: to change our eating habits, we must learn to eat mindfully, being more aware of chewing and tasting what we eat so that the brain can register the incoming nutrients. It's very true. And that's basically what mindful eating is all about. Okay, so we talked about this a little bit on the very first week, the very first webinar, when we learned about how to break down your kitchen and how to make it a successful place for eating healthy. People make about 200 decisions per day about food they eat. It does seem like a lot, but if you break it down per meal, it's really not that many. So breakfast has about 20 to 30 choices by itself. So breakfast, you could have eggs with fruit, toast, and coffee. What type of eggs do you want? What condiments are you going to have with it? Salt and pepper. What fruit? Is it going to be canned or frozen? Toast. Is it gluten-free toast? Are you going to do jam, peanut butter? Or how many slices? Coffee, is it going to be caffeinated, decaf? Are you going to add sugar? What type of sugar? How many cups? So this is just an example. A lot of decisions that we don't even really think about. But another thing to think about during when you eat is, what time will you eat? Where will you eat? Will I read or watch TV while I eat? How much time do I have to eat? Should I take my meal to go? So these are things that you probably haven't thought about. So this is just one meal and an example of how difficult implementing mindful eating practices can be. So is it worth it? Research has shown that by being more attentive to your food choices, sustainable, healthy weight maintenance can be achieved without counting calories. So let's talk about the core principles of mindful eating. Unlike sleeping and breathing, eating requires some deliberate engagement on our part. We need to make decisions on what we gather, shop for, and select. So the core principles of mindful eating are: bring awareness to nourishing properties of food through the process of food preparation and consumption. Okay. Select enjoyable and nutritious foods. And acknowledge food preferences non-judgmentally and give permission to enjoy fun foods. Okay. Recognize and honor physical hunger and satiety cues. Use wisdom to guide eating decisions. Okay. So let's talk about the mindful eating cycle. Since most people eat for reasons other than physical hunger, the very first question of why do I eat is often central to ultimately changing behavior. Okay. So why do I eat? Explore the triggers such as physical hunger, challenging situations, or visual cues that can arise from stress, fatigue, or boredom. Okay. The next question is, when do I want to eat? Okay. Is it dependent on the clock or physical hunger cues, or is it emotional? Next, we move on to what. What do I eat? Factors to consider when choosing food, such as convenience, taste, comfort, and nutrition. And then how do I eat? Does being plugged in technology interrupt eating times? Or maybe are you eating on the go? Okay, how much do I eat is the next question. Decide based on, maybe your decision is based on physical fullness cues, maybe the package size, maybe peer influence, or it could be habitual, a habit. Okay. And where is the final question. So eating may be invigorating for you. It may cause sluggishness or lead to guilt or shame. Okay. How is your energy used during work or play? Okay. So where do I invest my energy? Right? Okay. So what is mindless eating? Let's cover that before we go more in depth on mindful eating. And why is it so hard to be a mindful eater? So food is ubiquitous, okay? It's everywhere. Every time, always appropriate, and it's very convenient these days, okay? So it's very challenging to be a mindful eater because of that, okay? It's also very automatic. So it's easy not to check in with your hunger cues, okay? There's also emotional eating. Lack of planning makes it very challenging to be a mindful eater. Lack of knowledge, maybe you don't know what to eat. And also your environment. If your kitchen or your work environment is full of snacky foods or foods that do not help you eat healthy, then that can also prevent you from being a mindful eater. Okay, so mindless eating is looking at environmental cues and triggers around eating. So eating on the run, eating while distracted, eating from large plates or buffet style restaurants, and also consuming alcohol while eating as well. The mindful eating concept involves making adjustments to avoid these triggers that may compel individuals to eat unhealthful foods, eat too much, or both. Okay. So think to yourself, can you think of some strategies that would help avoid triggers that I just talked about, or maybe overcome the barriers to being a mindful eater? So I'll just throw some examples at you. Sitting down when eating is a great one. Eat off of a plate instead of a bag, so a fast food restaurant. Avoid electronics. Try not to watch TV or look at your phone when you're eating. You can eat from smaller plates. Stock your environment, so your kitchen and your work space, with healthier choices so that you have something convenient and healthy to grab. And then also a big one is avoid food shopping when you're hungry. Okay. And it's all about finding balance. Okay. Sustaining healthy eating habits happens when we find a balance. So let's look over here on the always deny. Does it work long term? So if you're on a very, very strict diet and you are supposed to stay away from a certain food, or you're supposed to not eat this, for example, I'm not going to eat this cookie. What if you tell yourself, I'm not going to eat this cookie? I'm not going to eat this cookie. What is more likely going to happen, right? You're probably going to eat the cookie, and then you're probably going to feel guilty afterwards. Listen, indulge when appropriate or redirect to another choice. Okay. Now, on the other end of the spectrum, if you always indulge, what's the result, right? Heart disease, high cholesterol, you might be overweight, you might have emotional eating. There needs to be a balance. Okay. So ask yourself when you're going to eat, do I really want this, or is it worth it? So, for example, a boxed cookie versus homemade. If yes, then enjoy and savor. So I just talked about redirecting. Redirecting is actually an excellent tool. So finding a different way to indulge in a healthier snack. I always tell people there's nothing wrong with indulging in sweet stuff. Just have a healthier option. So maybe enjoying strawberries dipped in yogurt with chocolate chips versus a bowl of ice cream. It will take longer to prepare and eat. Okay. So reflecting on choices this way takes time and practice every day. It's not going to happen overnight. Okay. So over time, it eventually becomes a habit. Okay. So when we're talking about finding balance, a hunger scale is also something to help you rate your hunger. Okay. So how do you rate your hunger? So what does it feel like? I want you to think in your head what it feels like to be at a 0 over here or a 1. Okay. What does it feel like physically when you're extremely hungry, right? Some of the common answers are headaches, irritation, shakiness, and fatigue. It's not fun to be over here at the 0 to 1, right? On the other side of the spectrum, can you think of how it feels to be too full, right? So full that you could feel nauseous, bloated, fatigued, swollen. You might even have emotional feelings of shame or guilt if you indulge too much over here to a 10. Both sides of the spectrum are not fun to be in, right? We want to stay away from 0 and we want to stay away from 10. So, right, so this is a very good tool to gauge your hunger. And it's a really great way for you to notate, okay, so I'm feeling pretty hungry. My stomach is beginning to growl at a 3. So what do you notice about your body and thought that made you choose that number? That's what I want you to think about, okay? So why is behavior change so hard? So understanding behavior is very important before you're able to change it. So if I am craving sugar all the time, or if I am eating processed foods all the time, ask yourself, I need to ask myself why. Now, trying to go cold turkey and stop those behaviors without actually understanding why they're happening in the first place is one of the biggest mistakes people make. Okay, so you need to explore the possible reasons for the decisions that you make with your food. Okay, so for example, I am eating processed food all the time. Why? Is it your environment? Are there processed foods all around you? Okay, social pressure. Are your friends constantly trying to get you to eat out at a fast food restaurant or a super convenient location at lunch or after work? Okay, preparedness, not preparing food ahead of time or not remembering to bring it along with you. Is that causing you to eat processed food? And what about the taste? Do you struggle with the taste of the food that you prepare? Okay. Or is the taste of processed foods luring to you enough to make you make the decisions to eat them over and over again? Because that stuff is addictive. Okay. Another example, I am eating late at night. Okay. Why? Are you bored at night? Or maybe you're distracted? Or maybe you're hungry because you're up way too late or you ate dinner way too early. Okay, so these are things that you need to ask yourself. You got to ask why and then break it down. Okay, so simply acknowledging the reasons why you engage in mindless eating is the first step to becoming more mindful. Okay, so we're going to go over the mindfulness toolkit, and the number one tool that you're going to utilize is the hunger scale. Okay, this is extremely helpful. Okay, so before you eat, you need to check in with your hunger. Okay, so you want to avoid zones 1 and 10, and it's really good to hover around 4 to 6 when you're eating. Okay, so you want to eat right when you're starting to begin to feel hungry, right? And then you want to stop when you're slightly full or pleasantly full, okay? Okay, toolkit number 2 is understanding hunger and satiety, okay? So understanding the mechanisms of hunger can help you manage behavior, right? So first, we're going to talk about hormones that affect your hunger and satiety messages to your brain. Okay, so there's a hormone called ghrelin. It's responsible for stimulating hunger, and it is the, what I like to say, go hormone that tells you what to eat. Okay, on the other side, there's leptin or low hormone produced by fat cells. It's the appetite suppressant, okay, released to signal the brain to say, I'm done. Okay, so leptin resistance is caused by consistently high levels. Okay, so it's really common in those who are overweight. The body basically produces a lot of leptin, but is unable to use it. So leptin resistance does not have to be a permanent state though. Okay, so it can be fixed. Okay, then there's the CCK hormone. It's the satiety hormone released when the stomach stretches to another point. It's another way of your body telling you to stop eating. Okay, so curbing overeating may involve shifting your mindset from eating until you're full to eating until you've just had enough. So just enough means that you've eaten the right amount of food to support your hunger for about 4 hours. So I'm sure you've heard before that you should eat every 3 to 4 hours. And the more practice you have paying attention to your body signals, the easier it will be to listen and distinguish your real needs. And just like anything, this takes practice, okay? If you've never listened to your body before and paid attention to what it's saying to you, it's going to take time, okay? Okay, let's talk about taste-specific satiety. So have you ever finished a large meal and said, I just can't eat another bite, only to say yes to dessert? This is actually known as taste-specific satiety, okay? You've had too much of the savory, but somehow you have room for dessert. So what I recommend for this is to plan ahead, especially if you're dining out. So look at the desserts and know if there is something you would like to enjoy. So plan what you will eat before so that the dessert will top your hunger cue at a 6 instead of a 10. Okay, so maybe you need to eat a little less so that you can enjoy that dessert afterwards. Okay, now artificial sweeteners. These are super tricky because everything about that beverage says sugar to your brain because it breaks down the same way as regular sugar, but there's actually no energy or calories coming in to satisfy. So it can actually throw off your hunger cues. Okay, so the normal pathways to satiety might be interrupted. So I recommend just staying away from artificial sweeteners altogether. Okay. Toolkit number 3 is tracking or journaling your hunger, your fullness, emotions, and perceived healthiness. Okay. So accountability can be super important to changing behavior. So I would actually recommend this as homework to start this week is to get a journal, or they have really awesome apps these days about journaling or tracking results or your eating habits. So every time you eat, whether it's a meal or a snack, do a quick evaluation using the hunger fullness scale before you eat. Record your physical sensations and hunger fullness rating in your journal. And check in with your hunger scale during the meal. Jot down any notes. Okay, then reevaluate after your meal and record your hunger fullness rating. Okay, so do this for at least 3 days and try to notice any patterns that you might see. Like, did you tend to wait too long to start eating? Or did you eat quickly and realize you overate past the happy zone in the hunger scale? There's no right or wrong answer. Everybody's experience is different. It's a total learning experience for you. Okay. Toolkit number 4, slow down. Okay. The majority of the population eats very quickly. Research shows that North Americans spend only 11 minutes eating lunch at the fast food restaurant and 18 minutes at a cafeteria in their workplace. Okay. So why slow down? Well, we get satisfaction from chewing. That's why we like foods with various textures. Okay, so chewing food not only enhances experience of changing textures and flavors, but it helps us get more nutrients from what we eat. Okay, so There are enzymes in the saliva that begin to break down food even before we swallow our food. Okay, so this is what I recommend doing in order to help you with the slow down process. Okay, look at your food. This is going to seem really silly at first, but it's very, very effective. Smell it and notice the colors. Okay, chew 15 to 30 times before swallowing. Notice the textures that you feel in your mouth, and then put down the fork between bites. Okay, so as you're chewing, put down your fork, observe what you're feeling, observe what your mouth sensations are having, and then make note of that. Make that a habit, and you'll notice that you eat a lot slower and you get fuller quicker. And you're able to stop eating when you should before you get past that 6 on the hunger scale. Okay. Toolkit number 5, hit the pause button. So give yourself a 30 to 60 second pause before making a decision. Okay, what do I mean by that? So this will actually help you recognize triggers. Am I emotional or stressed? Am I actually hungry? Take a deep breath to compose your thoughts and bring yourself into the present moment. Simply observe the thoughts that pass through your mind. Now you're ready to act mindfully. Okay, so this is how you recognize stress eating, especially. Okay, so points of control for stress management. First step is to recognize it. Then you can address it. Okay, so exercise. Consult a professional trainer and exercise wisely. Intense exercise may place stress on the body and increase cortisol production. Okay, so exercise frequently, and note that intense exercise is not actually required to be healthy. Okay, eat smart, avoid processed food. Aim for a diet that is 75% plant-based with 25% high quality proteins. Okay, manage stress. Try to maintain a positive attitude. Build a good support system and seek professional help when needed. Okay, meditation is amazing when trying to reduce your stress. So I actually recommend this app. It's called Happify. If you don't have it yet, it's amazing at reducing stress and anxiety. And it actually has tracks on it to help you with your eating habits. Okay. So I also wanted to note that stress is not caused by situations. It is caused by how we react to situations. Okay. And we can train ourselves to react in a positive, mindful way to not cause ourselves extra stress, which could possibly lead to mindless eating. Okay. And that's what meditation and stress management stuff is all about. Okay. So check out Happify if you've never heard of it. It's amazing. I recommend it to a lot of people that struggle with stress eating. Okay. Toolkit number 6. So know your triggers and redirect. So this goes back to that redirect that I talked about earlier in the webinar. Okay. So external triggers are basically your environment. Okay. So when our mind is full of conflicting thoughts and emotions, it is hard to do anything in a deliberate or straightforward way. It's like trying to drive a bus when all the passengers are trying to cram into the driver's seat while arguing where to go. So maintaining a calm environment when eating is so important. Okay. So internal is our thoughts, feelings, and the physiological cues. Okay. So thoughts, recognize and acknowledge as a thought. Okay. So not every thought needs to be translated into action. Okay. Feelings, allow yourself to feel emotion without acting on it. Let it pass. Okay. Physiological, hunger, fatigue, and energy. Okay. So just being mindful on what triggers cause you to have mindless eating is very, very important. Okay, toolkit number 7. Okay. So we're going to embrace healthy eating and manage your expectations. So ask yourself, what are you asking your food to do for you? Are you asking it to fuel, to comfort, to nourish, to prevent disease, to entertain? We want to nourish our bodies while enjoying the food we are eating. Okay, that's what we're trying to accomplish. Okay, toolkit number 8. So, common beliefs about cooking healthy. This is what I hear a lot. It takes a lot of time. Well, it can, absolutely, but it doesn't have to. Planning is absolutely key. Boys, you're too loud. Be quiet. I don't want to hear you. So mindfulness toolkit number 6. Okay, know your triggers and redirect. Okay, so external triggers is absolutely your environment. So when our mind is full of conflicting thoughts and emotions, it is hard to do anything in a deliberate or straightforward way. It's like trying to drive a bus when all the passengers are trying to cram into the driver's seat while arguing where to go. So maintaining a calm environment when eating is important. Silence. You understand what that means? I don't want to hear you. Okay. Turn it down. Mindfulness toolkit number 6. So know your triggers and redirect. So external equals your environment. So when your mind is full of conflicting thoughts and emotions, it is hard to do anything in a deliberate or straightforward way. It's like trying to drive a bus when all the passengers are trying to cram into the driver's seat while arguing about where to go. So maintaining a calm environment when eating is very important. Okay, so external is your thoughts. Recognize and acknowledge as a thought. Not every thought needs to be translated into action. Your feelings, allow yourself to feel an emotion without acting on it. Let it pass. And then physiological cues, so hunger, fatigue, and energy, okay? So once you actually figure out these triggers, you have to have a redirect. So having a redirect will help encourage mindful eating. So what if your goal is to make a healthy snack for dessert, but the only thing in your pantry is cookies? You have to have another option for a snack available in order to be able to redirect. Very, very important. Okay. Toolkit number 7. Embrace healthy eating and manage your expectations. Okay. It's really important to know what you want your food to do for you. Okay, so ask yourself what you want your food to do for you. Do you need it to fuel you? Are you trying to fuel for exercise? Do you need comfort? Do you need some sort of comfort food to feel better about your day? Maybe you're stressed. Are you trying to nourish your body? Maybe you're trying to heal yourself of high cholesterol or lower your blood pressure. Are you trying to nourish, right? Are you trying to prevent disease? Are you trying to entertain? Are you sitting there bored and you don't know what to do, so you need food, right? Ultimately, we want to nourish our bodies while enjoying the food that we eat, okay? So we want to eat food that is not only delicious, but nutritious at the same time. That is the ultimate goal. Okay, toolkit number 8, cooking healthy. Okay, so the common beliefs that I get about cooking healthy, I get this all the time. It takes a lot of time. Well, yes, it can, but it doesn't have to. The key is planning, 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 planning. Okay, without a plan, if you fail to plan, then plan to fail. Okay, another one I hear is it takes skill. Well, yeah, it takes some skill, but basic skills can create great meals. Okay. And the more you do it, the better skilled you get. Okay. You have to start somewhere. Okay. You're not going to be amazing chef overnight. All right. It takes practice, just like anything else. Okay. All right. Another one I get, it's hard to make it taste good. Well, not all meals are going to be home runs, but that is okay to appreciate it for what it is and draw on intention. Okay. It's expensive to make healthy food. Well, not necessarily. If you have a plan, it's actually not that expensive. Set a budget and figure out ways of fitting healthy food into that budget. Rice and beans are super healthy and very, very cost effective. And most produce is actually very, very affordable. Okay. And it's a lot less expensive than buying stuff pre-made. Okay. Finally, another one I get a lot is it requires a 5-star kitchen with well-stocked pantry. Well, a well-stocked pantry is important, but no fancy equipment or ingredients are absolutely required to cooking healthy. Okay. So just like we talked about in our first webinar, you have to be the nutritional gatekeeper of your kitchen zones, right? Decisions about what to eat for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and snacks are mainly determined by what foods the grocery shopper, aka the nutritional gatekeeper, brings into the house. Okay, so we need motivation, preparation, and execution. If you have the motivation to eat healthier, find good resources that consider your comfort level in the kitchen and execute some simple recipes to start. And as you get really good at those simple recipes, you will eventually grow into more challenging recipes, and you'll be surprised at how fast you'll grow. Okay, so that's it for today. I hope you learned a lot, and I'm hoping you're wanting to implement some of the tools that we learned today. Your homework, tomorrow you will be getting some mindful eating exercises. Please adopt at least 2 this next week and then going forward, okay? And I want you to think about every time you eat, just think about your food, think about how you're feeling, think about how you feel during and after you eat. And I highly, highly recommend getting a journal and start journaling your experiences as you go throughout this transformation. And by the end of it, you should be able to listen to your body and understand what it's telling you throughout the day, before, during, and after you eat. And that is the ultimate goal. Okay. And as always, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. Bye-bye.